Good morning and welcome to our webinar, which is going to be part webinar, part coaching, and just a lot of engagement this morning together. I'm Usha Maharaj, and we're going to get going in a minute or so. I've just opened the room and I'm just allowing everybody to enter the room before we get going. Hi, Greg, you're leading the charge. Good morning from Pretoria. And as you enter the room, please feel free to pop a good morning or a hello. Let us know where you're logging in from this morning. I'm very excited to be talking to you about energy. I had a session yesterday with a group of really dynamic women, and the discussion on energy went into some interesting new directions. And I think that today the direction that we take it is going to be really guided by the sorts of comments and inputs and questions that you pop into the chat box. So let's make this open and engaging, because that's going to make me really feel like I'm giving off my absolute best in the room here this morning. Hi, Joshika. I love the flower emoji that you just popped on there. Nice way to spread some good energy and some good vibes. So you're really kicking off the session there. Excellent. Good morning, Tom and Leanda from Clockstop, and always good to have you guys on the session with us. Bronwyn from Kloof. Bron, it's always good to have you joining a session. And Lucille, welcome to the session. Lucille's on my Leadership Evolution Masterclass, and how wonderful to have you here in the room with me again this morning, Lucille. Ajay from Mauritius, thank you for joining. Adita, we've got you dialing in this morning from Johannesburg. Welcome to the session together. Mirandi from Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome. Hi, Monique from Caterage. Lazan from Paul. Trisha from Durban. Looking forward to listening to you. Well, Trisha, looking forward to participating with you. Thanks for joining. Jyoti from Pietermaritzburg, thank you for joining me this morning. Carissa from Pretoria, looking forward. Carissa, I am looking forward to it. In fact, I'm just curious to know how the session's going to unfold, and I'm hoping that we've got quite a lot of engagement between us this morning, so that we can shift it in whatever direction is going to serve you the best. Lyndon from Centurion, absolutely fabulous to have you in the room with us. Joshka saying hi to her friends. And yes, you guys, you almost feels like you're having a little get together away from it all, and you're in the room together. So it's good to see friends meeting up in spaces like this as well. David from Richards Bay, welcome to the session this morning. So I'm really thrilled to be engaging with all of you. And today we're talking about energy. All things personal energy. And Mind Your Energy is really just bringing your mind into this whole concept of energy management, and trying to understand what it is we can do in order to find our balance, or to rebalance, or to create some balance when a lot of chaos might be going on around us. So if you're hearing me loud and clear, won't you just pop a loud and clear into the box, and then I'll know that I'm not talking to myself. In fact, I'm actually going to kick off the session, turn my video on. So if you can see me as well as hear me, then just pop a yes into the chat box, and I'll know that we're good to go for the morning. And I'll just keep saying hi to everyone else that I might have missed out. We've got Mohammed Sidat in the room. Nice that you're joining us. Shingirai Hav from Habaron, thank you for joining us. Ashraf Patel, good morning. Thanks everyone. Good to have you in the room. And I'm getting some yeses coming through. Thank you, Ashraf Linden. So I assume that you can all hear me and you can see me, and that we're good to go. And what we're going to be talking about today is Mind Your Energy. It's how do we bring some balance into all of the chaos. Now, I don't know about you, but I certainly entered this whole COVID-19 experience, and I had a huge burst of energy, and a huge burst of creativity, and a huge drive towards getting a lot of stuff done. And I found that I've managed to direct that energy towards certain ends and towards certain outcomes. And we'll unpack that in a little bit as well. But that's what happened to me. But I also have heard stories of others who haven't had a similar experience, who've gone into lockdown and then found that they're feeling very withdrawn or curtailed, or they're really struggling to fire up all cylinders and run in any direction. Or the change that we're facing is just causing so much unsettling emotions within, and then that is just boiling out and helping to causing, in fact, to tip the scales from almost feeling balanced and running and getting stuff done to actually, I'm really struggling here and I'm struggling to cope, and things just don't feel like they're working. Now, in order to create a picture in your mind in terms of balance, I want to use, I've got some paint with me. And my daughter's doing this big piece of art for a project for school, and every day we'll sit and we'll discuss the project and how it's going and the different elements, and she's looking at the different colors of paints that she's going to use for different elements and how the shading is going to happen in the sky and the blue. She's got a train running through the landscape toward this big castle in the background, and it's a red train with a lot of black detail. And then she's got a little pond in the front. So there's so many elements and so many colors that she's brought into her piece of art. But if I look at the colors, there are 4 primary colors that she's been using. For the landscapes, there's been the green that she's using. And then we've got the yellow that you can use to create the magnificent sunset, and the blues of the water, and the reds that were going into her chain. Now, if we think of these 4 jars of paint, they're pretty much what, and we then connect it back to what our energy sources look like. And we think of each jar of paint as a different source of energy. And what does it look like in terms of that energy? Now, going into lockdown, I said that I just got this burst of creative energy. And through this burst of creative energy, I just spent all of my waking hours, and those waking hours ended up being quite long because I would wake up really early in the morning and then work all the way to really late at night, just working on all of these problems that I'm wanting to solve, and how can I give back, and how can I build a community, and how can I strengthen, and how can I add value. And through all of it, I just kept on looking at, well, what are the solutions, and then implement, getting it done, until 3 weeks into lockdown. Suddenly I just felt this entire this drain of energy, like this pool of energy that I've been digging into and tapping into is now just starting to feel a little bit drained. So let's think of it, all of that energy vibe that's been going on as this red paint. And what I've been doing in those 3 weeks, and a lot of people who have the same sort of creative energy flow and this drive to solve problems and to think out of the box and create solutions and then implement these new ideas, think of that as the red paint. And what I've been doing with my painting ever since lockdown is I've been painting in red paint. And what happens when you paint with paint out of one jar, eventually you're going to run out of paint. And so what balance looks like is, so we've got the 4 energies, and now we're balanced because we're able to dip into all 4 of them. But suddenly I've emptied out all of the red paint, and now I've only got the 3 energy reserves. But my favorite and natural place to play in is here in the red paint. And so I start to feel a little bit unbalanced, and I've got to stop and recognize that what I've done is, in investing all of my time, all of my resources, all of my energy, and just utilizing red paint, I started to empty out the reserves. And once the reserves are empty, it's not like I can't fill them up again. I just need to take some time out to refill and recharge the energy that I've got here. Now, in a similar vein, let's say that I'm someone who loves to spend time in my yellow happy energy, in my inspiring energy. Now, this energy is something that a lot of people are struggling with right now. If we think of the yellow energy, it's the type of energy that helps us to connect with others, to feel fulfilled through our engagement with other human beings, to have a lot of fun, to just communicate, to help others, to develop others, to pull the team together, to unite, to just talk, and to draw energy from each other. And now being locked away, and if you're someone who's really, your energy, your yellow energy is the majority of your energy, but you're not able to utilize it in a way that you've always utilized it in the past. You're not able to hug somebody. You're not able to sit physically across the table and have a coffee with a good friend. You're not able to do all of these things that you took for granted that actually helped you to top up your connection energy reserves. Now you're not able to do all of those normal things. Now, what is that going to do to you? That's going to leave you starting to feel like there's this hollow on the inside. Like, I'm really struggling now. And this whole thing of not being able to connect with others and not being human and not being able to hug and laugh alongside someone, not along over a virtual meeting, but alongside someone, is really feeling like it's draining. Now, if you're that type of person, you need to recognize what is going on. You need to recognize it, and then you need to take some steps and actions to shift you forward into a space where you can feel like that connection energy is being recharged and revitalized for you. And if you are someone who loves to paint in green, so you see things in green all of the time, green is your place to be. It is the color of your choice. Now, the green energy represents all of the things that are stable, all of the things that make us feel grounded, all of the things that are consistent, that are deliberate, that are in the known space. And now if you think about what's going on around us with all of the heaps of uncertainty, and if you're in the workplace and now you're working from home, there's even more uncertainty. There's no routine anymore because we're now trying to manage family and work and all of the other responsibilities that we've got, whether it's cleaning, whether it's cooking, whatever those responsibilities are. But what we've done is we've now found ourselves in a space where all of the routine that brought us comfort has now vanished. And so the green is where we love to spend time, but that green is represented by the structure, the order, the routine, that sense of knowing, the sense of certainty, and all of that is suddenly gone. And that's the place that makes us happy, and we spend a lot of our time in this green energy. And if now suddenly that's been taken away from us, it's stripped away from us, and there's all of this change and uncertainty and unknown on a daily basis, and every day you wake up, there's more uncertainty and more unknown, and you're just juggling with so many balls that you didn't have to in the past, then know that your energy is going to be out of kilter, that you're going to start to feel a little bit drained, and you need to point back to say, okay, that's where it's coming from. And then finally, if you love painting in the blue paint, if you stay in a blue space, and the blue energy is about refining. It's about creating the structure that makes things work. And in the environment that we're in right now, where we're constantly needing to create structure, where we're constantly needing to develop the plans and the solutions that are going to deliver on the big ideas that are coming up to solve the problems, then we're going to be utilizing a lot of that energy, and we're going to be staying in that space a lot of the time. And then what happens? Just like with me entering lockdown, I went in overdrive and used up all of this red energy. You're going to start draining out on the blue energy, and the energy that you use to refine and refocus and create that structure and that order. Suddenly, you're just going to feel, you're going to start feeling drained. Now, for you sitting in, listening in on the session, I said that it's more an engagement than me just sitting here and talking to you, or me just going through a set of slides. I want to engage with you and understand from your perspective, where's your energy, what is your energy feeling like right now? Are you on a high? Are you able to maintain that high? Are you feeling like you're being drained and pulled down? What do you think is causing the energy dips or the energy peaks that you might be experiencing, especially now during lockdown and this period of extreme change that we're going through? So I'm getting a couple of comments. So please just share your comments, your thoughts here. And if you've got a question, then I want to know what the question is around just minding your own energy and managing your own energy. And I'm going to go through a couple of slides as well. in a couple of minutes. But let's just see if you've got any comments or thoughts with regards to energy, or you're seeing that yours is going up and down, or you're noticing that others maybe in your team are struggling in certain areas, then pop that into the chat and let's pick it up and discuss it along the way as well. I've got Adita was loving the creative side. Exactly. There's just tons of that's flowing right now. And it's really important that if you've got it, that you actually get on there and you start to see how you can utilize it for whatever good you're trying to do or whatever goal you're trying to achieve. And while we've got the energy, definitely use it, but make sure that you don't get to a point where you peak in your utilization, because at that point, it's very easy to start to dip, either on the side of exhaustion and fatigue and frustration, and then we start to show a lot of negative emotion. And when we do that, our performance levels start to dip. Or it could go on the side of, well, I'm going to actually just stop utilizing the energy, slow down a little bit, and then we start dipping in terms of our performance as well, but we keep the emotional sides a little bit more positive than negative. But it's important to say, how do I stay in flow? How do I stay in peak performance while still utilizing all of these energy reserves that I've now got access to? We've got Chelsea, who's got a bit of both normal highs and lows. And when you've got the highs and the lows, it really makes a difference if you stop and you ask yourself, where's the high coming from? And is there anything I can do to keep the high more consistent? And where's the low coming from? And what can I do to actually manage the low? Because when we go from the highs to the lows to the highs to the lows, we start get that energy gets matched to our performance and our outputs. And in the same way, we're going and we're feeling high, we're feeling low, we're feeling high, we're feeling low. Our performance is going high, low, high, low. But what happens in between in the performance to go from the low point to the high again takes a long time. And we don't want to have our energy levels now impacting our performance, because if we think about the outputs that a lot of us are delivering now, the number of extra balls we're having to juggle, the number of extra responsibilities we need to tick off by the end of the day, we want to be managing ourselves so that we stay more on the high side more of the time. We can't do that all of the time. And when we do a dip, we must manage that dip so it doesn't go all the way to the low, but it's just a slow dip so that we can recharge and then it's back up to a high point again. So it's really important to reflect and say, what's causing the peaks and the troughs, and then how can I manage it and almost try and level it out a little bit more. Chelsea says lots of energy most of the time with lots of excitement to do all of the things I've been wanting to do and get more creative. Chelsea, I'm seeing a lot of red energy there, which is lovely. Monique, I'm maintaining considering all the balls I'm juggling, homeschooling, working, cleaning, etc. That's perfect. Monique, Ashraf, inconsistent energy levels. Kages in the quarantine has been very useful for me. So I have been loving the new space created for me to operate in, super energized all the time. Kages, and that's excellent. So I'm also sensing quite a lot of red energy coming through from you. Weakest Vogel, also very high energy, especially with my creativity. Started creating new things like designing. Exactly. So a lot of creative energy being utilized at the moment, and it's really shifting the space for a lot of us who are able to access that energy. And the good news is, even if you think that that's not the energy that you're able to access most, there's a way to start dipping into it. And I want to show you that actually all of us have all of the energies, and we can start to dip from one to the other. Lucille's stress levels are down, which is great. Well done, Lucille. Time is on our side, so we're using it wisely. That's exactly it. We've got time, and some of us have more time than others, but it's how do we utilize that time most effectively? And then if we look back at our energy levels, how do we utilize our time and match it to our energy and our levels of peak performance out of that energy level? Chelsea, yes, true. Think the lows have come from overdrive, so definitely need to work on balance. Very on point, Chelsea. So I want to take you through a couple of slides, and I want to just unpack this energy a little bit more for you so that we can start to see what it looks like if we start to say, well, if I want to go from paint to actually putting some names to it and some words to it, because when we can articulate it, then we bring it into reality a lot easier. I use the Contribution Compass profiling. Now, if you've joined up through the Enshrine Learning Academy, then you would know that through the Enshrine Learning Academy, you've got an opportunity, if you're on their database or if you fill in their questionnaire, to get yourself a Contribution Compass profile. But there are other ways to get the profiling done as well, just by getting the profile, by engaging with Contribution Compass or a partner like myself, and then engaging to get the profile done. But this is the Contribution Compass profile. And the reason I use profiling is a shortcut to understanding things, to getting deeper insights, to getting deeper reflections. And we can certainly understand these things in ourselves, but if we try and do it without the shortcuts, it takes us a lot of time. And time is not something that we've got an endless supply of. We must utilize it most effectively. And so I use profiling. And there are tons of profiling tools. You don't have to use the Contribution Compass. Use the profiling tool that you've got. If you've already got a report, go and read it again. A lot of them are able to tell you what you're going to get out of the Contribution Compass profile. But this is my profile of choice, and I wanted to focus on the energies that the Contribution Compass really articulates beautifully once you've done the report. So there are 4 main energies, and like I showed you with the 4 paint jars, it's the same color profiles that we're going to look at in the Contribution Compass. So the red energy, which is also known as your activating energy, that's the energy that's all about the what. What are we doing? And it's the ideas, innovation. It's all about potential. What can we get out of this? How can we grow it? What's the strategy? It's looking at the bigger picture. It's stretching ourselves to a greater extent. And really, when we're in our activating energy space, we're dictated by a lot of drive and energy, and something to be wary of, or something to just be cautious about, is when we're in our activating energy space, or if we're high activating energy people, then we must recognize that one of the traits that we've got is that we like things done our way. And often with high activating energy, you can come up with the right sorts of solutions. But if you're in a family unit and everything needs to be your way, and if you think about the pace at which you're thinking when you're in the activating energy space, that pace is usually very rapid. And if we're expecting everyone around us to be running at the exact same pace without respecting that each person is really driven by their real energy flow or true energy flow, and their level of highest energy might be one of the other 3 categories and not activating. So with a high activating energy, those ideas people, the ones that are in just creative juices flowing, getting stuff done, moving really rapidly, really important to think about how that energy is also impacting on others, and to use your energy for all of the good that you're doing, but be cognizant and wary of what it could be doing to others as well, especially if you're managing teams, if you're running companies, if you're running households, if we've got a family around us, if we've got friends that we're engaging with. Just think about your energy and utilize it wisely. So with great power comes great responsibility. That's what they say in Spider-Man. That goes for all 4 energies as well. With great energy reserves in any one of the 4 categories, it comes with a really great responsibility. The next energy that I want to talk about, energy profile, is the high inspiring energy. So this is the yellow paint, the people who just love to paint in the yellow paint. Your high inspiring energy people are those who love connection. They love all things that involve other people. They thrive on human beings and connecting. And they're the people who would love to embrace you and hug you and engage with you and talk to you. And they're the life of the party when we're in a room with a group of people. These people are really dictated by you see them and you get a sense of warmth and motivation. They love doing things the fun way. Now, if you're high inspiring energy, or you're around people that are naturally high inspiring energy, what you need to be aware of, that your energy is going to dip in a time where we are locked away, where we're not allowed to engage with other people. And even if you come into contact with someone that you haven't seen in a while, you can't even go in for the hug and the embrace and the normal warmth that you get out of that connection. So now we're in a very different space, and it makes you start to feel a little bit drained, because the way you would recharge is you'd recharge through all of those fun engagements, that connection, the touch, the feelings, and a lot of that is now being taken away. So you've got to look for ways in which you can create that feeling and that emotion. Now, if you are a high inspiring person, energy person, or if you have people with high inspiring energy around you who are feeling a little bit drained or where the energy reserves might be dipping a little bit, then pop a note into the chat box and let me know what you're seeing or what you're experiencing, and we can pick that up as well. So just know that if you are high inspiring energy in a time that we're currently experiencing right now, where we are limiting our connection and we're limiting that engagement and we're limiting the ways in which we would traditionally have fun, that you are going to start to feel your energy reserves dipping. And it's important to be aware of that and then take steps to actually shift it and to bring the feeling of engagement back. And we'll look at a couple of examples if we get some comments going in the chat box. The next energy I want to talk to is the sustaining energy, or the guys with the green painted jars. So this energy really thrives on the balance and having a sense of belonging, and really thrives in a space of trust and rhythm. That's where you get your flow. And if we look at the environment that we're currently functioning in, rhythm is almost completely out the window. And every day we think we're creating rhythm and we think we're creating a new sort of flow for us, and maybe we've created some structure and order within which we can deliver and function, and that's going to bring a little bit more routine. But with each day, something new pops up, and something new that has a new demand attached to it, or a new deliverable, and now we're having to deliver in a new way. So there's just a lot of new that's coupled with a lot of uncertainty that really frazzles and dazzles someone who's high sustaining energy, who really just thrives on knowing and on doing within the confines of knowing. So understand that if you are the person who thrives in that space, where you're passionate about delivering and getting things done and delivering on time, and you love that there's structure and order around you that dictates and guides the way things happen, and you're feeling out of balance right now, know that your energy reserves are draining very quickly, especially where you've got high sustaining energy, and that's the energy that would usually drive you and would be the normal space within which you play. And then the final energy, or the guys, the blue paint jar, that love to paint in the blue paint. This is our refining energy, and it's all about structure and order and refining ideas and bringing it into existence. And it's about analysis and precision. And if we think about the chaos that we're living in right now, I mean, it certainly does look like chaos when we've got no idea how the days are going to unfold, for us, for our companies, for the economy, for the country, for the entire world. If we are people with naturally high refining energy who thrive in bringing order to chaos, your mind is going to be in overdrive. And whether you're doing it within your family unit, whether you're doing it for your company or for your team, or in whatever role you're functioning in, but if you are the person with high refining energy who is constantly wanting to create that order, bring that structure, refine the processes, you're going to find yourself in a state where you're constantly digging into that refining energy, and eventually it's just going to feel like, oh my gosh, I feel a little bit broken now, and your scales are going to feel like they've tipped as well. So just think about which of these energies describes you, and that might be the source of your primary energy. Now, the thing is that none of us has just one bucket of energy. I mean, we all have access to all 4 jars of paint. We just have a natural leaning toward 1 or 2 jars, or we have just a lot more of some colors than we have of the other. So we've all got access to all 4 energies. And we might find that right now we're called on to function in a space that is not where we would normally thrive. So you might be the type of person who would normally thrive in your sustaining energy, but you're constantly having to find solutions to problem, and that's a high activating energy. So while you like to paint in green paint, that comes naturally to you, you're now having to dip into the red paint a lot more, and that tips the scales as as well. So it's just so critical to understand what is going on inside us, how we're dipping into the different colored paints and our different energies, and how we now need to focus on just topping ourselves up and knowing when we're getting that frustrated, frazzled feeling, that it actually might come from us overutilizing one of our energies or having to dip into an energy that we haven't normally practiced utilizing a lot. So we're feeling that out of the comfort zone, out of the box type of feeling. So as I'm going through a couple of examples now, if anything pops into your mind, please pop it into the chat box and then I'll pick it up in the discussion as well. So what I've done is I've just brought a couple of examples here of actual energy profiles for people who've completed a contribution compass profile, so that I can bring to life just the 4 energies and how it might look for different people. So what you might also see, or what you might recognize, is that, oh, okay, I'm probably the sort of profile where I've got a lot of activating energy, a lot of refining energy. So if you see the word tempering anywhere, Contribution Compass have just updated the language that they use, and it's now refining. So the language now represents the energy a lot closer. So if you see, like at the bottom of your screen, it says tempering 26.72%. That should have been refining. So just ignore it. In your own mind, change it to refining energy. So you might think, okay, this is a profile match that maybe represents my sort of energy mix. So this person, if we look at the colored shaded block in the middle of the contribution compass circle here, we've got a high activating energy at 31.3%. We've got 26.72% tempering or refining energy, 26.72% sustaining energy, and 15.27% inspiring energy. Now, there's a couple of things that will stand out for this person here. The first thing you want to do is you can cut that circle down the middle, and you'll have it into 2 halves, a left and a right half. On the right-hand side, which is closer to the inspiring energy, you would normally find if you have a huge peak in energy on the right-hand side, this is a person who's normally very extroverted, loves that connection and engagement on the outside. And if you've got a lot of energy on the left-hand side pulling towards refining energy, this is a person who's naturally more introverted. So what you would find for this individual is that they're thriving in the lockdown space, where they're able to sit at their desks and just churn out what it is they need to churn out. They're coming up with new ideas, or new ideas are being sent their way. They're able to articulate and to respond to those new ideas, and then they're able to very fluently take those and put them into processes, introduce new systems, or implement solutions, implement the solutions, bring the how into how we're going to bring the ideas to life. So this sort of profile, if you're this person with this sort of energy profile, you're probably thriving in the current lockdown situation. And the fact that you're not having to go to networking engagements and just constantly spend time engaging with others, meeting with others, talking to others, socializing, has probably moved you into a space where you can deliver at a higher peak level. So you're finding that your energy is probably sustainable. The only caution here would be that if you go into the state and you're going to get there is where you're just feeling like you're in peak performance, is to just make sure that you take time to recharge your batteries. Because if you're just pushing, you're eventually going to you can stay at the top of your peak and you can stay in buzz and in flow for a long period of time. But if you push too hard, what eventually happens is you move into that state of just, you break in terms of your emotional balance, and you get frustrated, and then you start to tip the scales toward actually, I'm not coping anymore. So you want to stay in that peak performance, know that this is your energy levels, but just make sure that you're stopping and that you're able to recharge your batteries so that you can keep going probably at the peak performance that you're able to tap into right now. Here we've got a profile, and constantly look at it to say, does that look like maybe I could be that sort of similar profile? So here we've got a profile of a person who's got huge amounts of activating energy for 41.67%. Now, like we said, if you've got tons of activating energy, you are in a very creative space right now. So this person is going to be coming up with ideas in abundance. And then look at this 8.33% sustaining energy. This person just does not like to take the time it's going to take to go from ideas. So if we look at the way the energy is going here, there's very little sustaining energy, and then the next lowest energy is the refining energy. Now, the caution that you're going to have to experience if you are this person is that you've got tons of ideas. I mean, you can have ideas per minute, especially when you're in a space of change, and we're in a space of problems, and we're in a space of, oh, I need to solve them, and I'm so energized by this. You're going to constantly be coming up with solutions. Your energy will be maxed out because you're going to use so much of it. The caution here is to actually find the idea that's going to be the one that's going to create the most amount of benefit, wherever that benefit lies, whether it's benefit to you, to your team, to your family, to your community. Where is it you're trying to create benefit? Find the idea that you like, and then stop and say, okay, now I've got this idea. I need to bring it into existence, and move yourself away and out of the only new idea space into how can I implement and bring this idea to life. Or you're going to start to feel drained, and you will eventually go into that just frustrated, exhausted state if you don't stop yourself and say, okay, I think I've got the best idea. Or write out all the ideas that are coming into your mind and say, that's the one I want to work with. Or write out the 100 ideas and then group them and work with one group of idea. What's going to get you the maximum amount of value in the shortest space of time? Maybe that's where you get started. But when you're a profile like this, and you're in a space that we are in currently, where there's just a lot of change, a lot of problems, you're going to move into solutions mode. You're going to move into big ideas mode, and your creative energy is going to be bursting. But remember, if all you're doing is painting with your red paint, or you're activating energy, and you're staying in that creative space, you're going to drain yourself, and the scales are going to tip. So if you start, and you'll notice it, you'll start to feel a bit tired, or you feel a bit frustrated, or you feel moody, or you're just snapping at people, stop. Think about where that's coming from. Ask yourself, could it be that I've actually drained my energy reserves here? And then just recharge your batteries. And recharging your batteries looks different for each of us. Some people like to read a book to recharge. Others like to soak in a bathtub. Others like to play music. Others like to cook. What is it that you like to do that would recharge your batteries? And really, if it's exercise, if it's a Zumba class, if it's painting, whatever it might be, just take a time out and do that, or make time to do that. And then you'll find that your batteries and your balance is starting to stay more where you need it to stay in order to deliver at peak performance for a longer period of time. Then you might be someone with a profile like this, who's got a lot of inspiring energy. I mean, 36.36% inspiring energy. And like we said, if you're pulling to the right towards the coach profile with all of that inspiring energy, in a time like this, where we're locked away, you're going to start to feel drained and tired and demotivated, because you're not able to stay in that happy place where you're utilizing a lot of your inspiring energy and that connection with other people. And on the session I had yesterday with just this group of phenomenal women who were sharing ideas, and one of them said, I am really missing just hugging people. And the fact is, you're not going to get to hug people for a long time. You can hug those that are staying within the confines of your four walls, but you can't go out of your four walls and hug anyone. I mean, the closest contact you can make, and even that is not something you should be doing, is the whole elbow bump. But you want to be staying far from people with the social distancing in place. So the inspiring energy people who just love to connect and engage, and the huggers, and you're really going to start feeling drained. And in the session we had yesterday, a lot of fun ideas thrown around. One of them was, okay, so what we want to do is we want to create the feeling that you would get from hugging someone. So if you understand how visualization works and affirmations work, what we're doing is we're planting a seed in our brains, because our brains can make us feel like the reality is happening around us. So we want to do the same thing and create that sort of feeling within us that's going to make us feel like we've topped up the energy in the areas that we're now feeling there's a gap in. And with your high inspiring energy, so for the person who's like struggling because they're not getting to just, juice up by hugging other people, we said, well, go away, grab a good magazine, find up a picture of a person that looks very huggable, somebody you'd love to hug, paste it on your pillow, and then give that a good old hug. Close your eyes and just picture that you're hugging someone. And while you're doing that, smile. And think about what you would feel when you're hugging someone. Just picture that. What you're doing is you're recharging by creating an emotion within yourself that mimics what you get when you're out there doing the things that you miss the most. And by doing that, you're topping up on the reserves, on the energy that you would normally be utilizing that's now feeling slightly drained. So if ever you're feeling just, you're tipping the scales in toward the stage where there's a little bit of frustration or moodiness or anxiety or anxiousness, it could be that your energy reserves in one of the 4 areas is now just out of kilter, and you might just need to top up. So sit down and think about the type of person that you are. Where have you been spending a lot of your energy? What do you need to top up on? And then make a conscious effort to top up on that energy. We've got one more example here, and this profile, I think I might have covered this. This profile is high activating energy, high tempering, high sustaining energy, and I did. So this profile really is thriving right now, but important that even if you're thriving right now, to know that at some point, if you're maxing out at peak performance on a continuous basis, that is not sustainable. And as much as some of us can do it for longer periods than other, eventually it's going to dip. So just be conscious that if you're in that peak performance, make time to top up on the energy reserve so that you can stay at peak performance for a longer period of time, and that you don't experience the deep dips and the deep lows that will come from not being able to stay up there at peak. The risk is when we allow the fall and we allow ourselves to go into the trough, that it takes a long time to pull back out again and to recharge our batteries again. And we want to reduce that time between the peaks and the troughs and the peak again. So let's just try and keep the energy in balance so that we can stay in flow for a longer period of time. Bronwyn says, I think recharge is much needed, especially as I am juggling so much at the same time, trying to do too much. Love the idea of focusing on one idea that will generate much benefit. Exactly, Bronwyn. It's totally about really just refocusing. And we are being drawn on to do so many things. And there isn't an opportunity to say, well, today I'm not going to cook, or today I'm not going to help my child with homework, or today I'm not going to deliver on the KPI that I'm responsible for. There actually isn't that luxury that we've got access to. We just have to dive in and get it all done. So from an energy perspective, and when you're trying to juggle all of these balls, Bronwyn, think about which of the 4 energies might be getting depleted right now, and then what can you do to layer an activity over to start to top up on that energy space. So I'll give you an example that with me and the long days that I've been having and just spending a lot of time in that activating creative energy space and needing to really top up and to get myself to stay in that space, that peak performance level. While I'm cooking, because I do have to feed the family. So while I'm cooking, I would often play music in the background. And then while the music's playing, it's inevitable the feet start to move and, you do a bit of a jive and you enjoy yourself. And you actually in that moment are just releasing and letting go. So while cooking could have felt like a chore, it's actually now my time out and my recharge. And it enables me to spend that time and just completely shut down my mind to thinking up new ideas. How am I solving that problem? What are the next steps? What are the tasks that I need to do? You're shutting down your mind and you're just allowing your body to recharge from an energy perspective. So you're bringing back some balance. So think about what are the tasks and activities that you're doing on a daily basis. How can you layer something over that? Because yes, we don't have the luxury to stop cooking or whatever it is that we've got on our to-do list. We don't have that luxury, but we certainly can consciously layer another activity over it that's going to help us to just recharge our batteries and to start feeling a little bit more energized. We've got Kugesan saying a lot of things has come up for me regarding my ontology. There's a lot more I am able to see regarding what I am already working on. That's excellent. So new perspective and transparency has become apparent. Thank you. Kugesan, absolute pleasure. Jashika, thank you. I love that, how to bring to light and get started on that one idea that I want to work with. Exactly, because especially when you're in that creative space and the activating energy is just going ballistic, it really is important to pick one idea and then run with it so that we can bring it into fruition and into existence. We don't want to lose the value of the ideas, but the only way to get value out of the ideas is to bring them into existence. Dita says, very good insight, and will apply the suggestions. That's excellent. It's all about application. I undertake to sit down every 2 days and assess and identify the sources and aim for balance. Absolutely. If we don't aim for balance, if we don't reflect and analyze, then we can't change, we can't shift, and we might never be able to pinpoint where the scales are tipping. So Jashika says, I think the initial shock and horror of the immediate effect of the virus was a real dampener of spirit. Absolutely. But I'm now loving all the time I have on my hands to be more creative and use my time constructively. Absolutely. And Jashika, you're making a point that is so important. Another thing that strips away our energy is what we focus on. So what we focus on, we expand. And if you had done was fed the fear of what the virus was going to do, and if you like this person that we've got on the screen, has all of this tempering energy, and you might have gone into, because if all you held on to was the impact of the virus, all the ideas that are going to come up in your head. So you said the shock and horror of the immediate effect of the virus was real. So let's say you're this person who had this initial shock and horror, but all you held on to were pictures of the devastation, were stories of the horror, and that's all that fed your emotional state at that point. The ideas that you generated will be ideas that are generated from a very deep sense of fear. And the fear that you're driven by would be the fear that's going to probably make you become more inward, that's going to make you lock yourself away even longer, that's going to make you now become more risk averse. How can I develop plans and solutions that's going to protect me? But if you had flipped it over, and you definitely sound like you have, but you flip it into a constructive state, into what can we do to solve this, into how can I help? And then rather than focusing on looking at the pictures that are only of devastation, what do the stats look like? How many more people are infected? How many more people have passed away, whether it's here, whether it's around the world, what president has said what to do something about this. And if we only focus on that, then we bring ourselves down. We strip away our energy. But if we flip it and we say, okay, well, how can I help solve the problem? How can I help my community? How can I help my family? How can I serve better? How can I whatever, but how can I from a very positive perspective? And if you start focusing on the stories of positivity out there, it's going to bring in ideas that create change from a positive perspective. And then you're able to tap into your energy, and you can get into a space of peak performance, but peak positive performance, and to get to the goals that you're wanting to achieve. So really important insights that you've got to be aware of, that will get you to really create some balance in your life. Ashraf says, I like the idea of layering something fun onto the mundane chore to make it more bearable. Exactly, Ashraf. There are so many little things that we can do that don't take extra time, that can actually make life a lot more bearable, and then more than bearable, let's aim for a lot more fun. So if we utilize our time and we bring some fun into our lives, you're going to find that a lot of us are having to stay a lot of the time in our refining energies, and we're in the sustaining energies, or we're in the activating energy, the inspiring energies, the fun, doing things the fun way, bringing fun into our lives. If we can layer that on everything else that we do, we find that our energy starts to stay more in balance, and we're utilizing then all of the inspiring energy that we've got. So from your perspective, what is it that you can do? What you can do is to understand that as human beings, we are gifted with energy, and our energy is topped up differently from people around us. And our natural state of energy and our natural state of flow might be different to the person next to us. So we're going to react differently. We're going to respond differently. We're going to feel very different right now, going through exactly the same situation, experiencing the same problems. So knowing how to recognize your energies, and then knowing how to keep them in balance and in check, is absolutely crucial. And it's important to know it for yourself, and then it's important to train those around you to see it in themselves as well, so that they can top up on the energy reserves that they need to top up on. I mean, if you think of those of us with children, Now, children are now locked away in the home. What would their normal school day look like? I mean, they're having time out with their friends, their inspiring energy is being utilized, they're laughing and joking and having a whole bunch of fun. They're learning, but they're engaging in a classroom face to face with the teacher. Then they go out and they have their sporting activities. So they're very well rounded and balanced in their school days from the time they leave home to the time they get back. And then when they get home, there's a whole other series. And by the end of the day, when they get to bed, they've gone into flow. They've utilized the space of energy that they're happiest in, and then they're able to go to bed. And now, having to do all of this just confined in the space that they're confined in, having to now deal with. So if your child has high sustaining energy and loves routine, and now is having to navigate new systems and new ways of learning, and there is no structure, there's different structure, and that structure might change from day to day. And then today your internet service might work properly, tomorrow there's a break in internet. Think about how their energy levels are just going up and down, and what can you do to help them to manage it as well. So knowing your own energy is critical in order to balance for yourself, but then it's also important to recognize it in others to help them balance in themselves as well. And that's how we create a state of just positive happiness for all of us, and we need a lot more of that right now. And in fact, we need that now more than we've ever done before. So when it comes to energy, I think I've shared a lot with you this morning, and I've taken you through a couple of examples. All I want to do is to refocus your attention to the fact that we all have energy reserves and they look different to each of us. So understanding your own, and then understanding what happens when we go into the peaks and the troughs and we want to actually just try and balance it out and stay in a level of flow, and that you actually need to be aware of what's happening with your own energy, how you're feeling. If there's exhaustion, frustration, moodiness coming in, know that you've overutilized some of your energies and you need to start to top up. And then layering something fun over anything that we do or creative is an easy way of getting it done. And I think that with that sort of context, if you go away and reflect on it, you're probably going to come up with one or two actions that you can implement, and you might already have come up with one or two actions that you can implement for yourself or even for your families and your teams after our time here today. So if you've got any final comments or questions around your energy, please pop them into the chat box and I'll pick them up. But I think I've shared quite a lot with you in a short space of time, and I'm hoping that it's given you a new way of looking at it, or it just enhanced how you already knew about looking at it. So that's from an energy perspective, and I certainly hope that if you take those tips and implement it, that you're going to feel like your scales are balanced more often than not going forward. There are a couple of things that I'd like to share with you, just to tell you about. I've got a Leadership Evolution Masterclass for women starting tomorrow. I've already had a group go through orientation last night, another group go through orientation this morning, and the actual program starts tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. If you would like to join as a last-minute entrant, I'll pop a link into your notes, and then you'll be able to click on the link and take you to a page where you can sign up, but that gets started tomorrow. Just a phenomenal program. The entire program covers how you utilize your energy and touches on the contribution compass as a source of really just shining and getting the most out of yourself. Enshine Learning Academy is just the place to be when it comes to wanting to know about new opportunities for learning and development and personal growth. And if you haven't already joined their mailing list, or if you are not an Enshine Learning VIP, then when the emails go out from the Enshine Learning Academy, please make sure you click on the VIP list, and that's the way that you'd get notified of upcoming webinars and programs that are coming through the Enshine Learning Academy. And if you aren't already connected with me on social media, please do so. That's the place that I do post when I've got anything that I'd like to share, or that's the place that I like to engage with my community on. And you can find me on pretty much all of the social media platforms. Just reach out and connect with me. I would love to be connected with you on all of those platforms as well. So the bottom line is, minding your energy is a huge responsibility and a huge call, especially in the times that we're currently living in. But it is your responsibility, because when you're able to do that, you're able to give off your best to everyone around you for a lot longer and a lot more of the time than you would if you hadn't noticed what's happening with your energy. And you certainly can find the balance. So no matter how tipped your scales are feeling right now, there is an opportunity to create some sort of balance, or something that resembles balance and feels like balance in your life. You just got to dig a little bit deeper, reflect on where the tipping point is, and then how can you start to shift things back into a sense of into a state of balance for yourself. And I want to thank you for joining me this morning, for taking time out of your busy schedules and being in the room with me. And I hope that what I've shared with you does add some value and does help you to find a lot more of a state of balance for yourself, and hopefully you're able to rub that off on others as well, because the more people we've got shifting into the state of their own personal power, their own personal energy, their own personal balance, the better it is for all of us. So let's just spread the love by sharing what you've learned and teaching others to do what you're doing for yourself as well. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm just going to read a couple of the closing comments that you're popping into the chat box now before we sign off, and I let you go back to your busy days ahead. Ajay says it's important to work on oneself internally, mind, body, and soul. I couldn't agree more. Then you can give off your best energy to help those around you. Ajay, you're completely on point. When we get into that complete alignment, mind, body, and soul is when we are at our peak. And when we're at our peak, we can give back and serve at a much greater level. That's a beautiful point. Thank you. Carissa, thank you for an inspiring session. Usha, appreciate all of the practical tips. Thank you, Carissa. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me. Bronwyn, powerful message. Usha, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Bronwyn, always a pleasure. Dita, really grateful for your assistance and input. You really are amazing and enjoyed the session a lot. Thank you, Dita. Dita, you're amazing too. Thank you for joining and for contributing and for sharing your comments. I completely, totally appreciate that. David, thanks, Usha. Great stuff. Thank you, David. Jashika, thank you so much for your time and wonderful insights. Jashika, thank you for joining and for the beautiful flowers. And when we see something creative and happy, I mean, when I see those flowers, I know my inspiring energy is getting topped up. So thank you so much. We can feed each other the energy that we need as well. Kugesan, grateful to be part of this introduction and wishing everyone an amazing day further. Thank you, Kugesan. We wish you an amazing day further. Monique, very insightful. Thank you. Usha, Monique, thank you. Lucille, thank you for always sharing. Usha, appreciate it. Absolute pleasure, Lucille. You're going to be getting a lot more of that in the weeks ahead as we work together. Neil, thank you. Thank you, Neil. Tom, thank you, Usha. A new area I'm moving into with this. So inspiring. Excellent, Tom. And you and Leander both have contribution compass profiles. Go back and read it, especially focusing on the energy and the natural energy section, and then think back to the session. And I guarantee you're going to see new insights that's going to help you elevate how you're managing your own energies. Marandi, thank you so much for your energy and insights. Absolute pleasure, Marandi. Lyndon, thank you so much for a great session. Thank you, Lyndon. Thank you, Denford. Ashraf, thank you for an insightful session. Absolute pleasure, Ashraf. So thank you all for joining me today. Remember to mind your energy and to find a way to balance the scale when you feel that your energy scales are tipping. Have a fabulous day further. Please stay safe, keep healthy, and I'll see you on the next webinar. Goodbye.